Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening, a number of issues will be addressed. Primarily, we're discussing President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's visit to Saudi Arabia, where he met with the Saudi king and the Crown Prince. With us on the phone to discuss this issue is Dr. Ahmed Faid, Professor of Political Science. Dr. Ahmed, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Yes. The president earlier had high-level meetings at Saudi Arabia with Saudi King Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over a number of issues. The significance of that visit, in your opinion, especially that he is conducting this visit at quite trying times, to put it mildly.
Well, definitely. The Egyptian-Saudi relationships are extremely critical. Egypt and Saudi Arabia are the biggest, or one of actually the biggest countries in the MENA region. So definitely their long-lasting cooperation is critical and very important for the stability of the region. And given the long-term strategic importance of this relationship, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visited the Saudi Arabia, and it shows how important the visit is that the Crown Prince was actually there,
yes,
meeting him at the airport. And building on that, actually, they discussed a number of issues, one of which was definitely the economic importance and cooperation between the two countries. And one of the important issues they also discussed was the role of, or the position that some of the Arab countries that may take regarding the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, and how can the Arab countries navigate through this crisis, and of course the increasing prices of oil. All of these issues were discussed in the discussions between the two of them, and we read in the statements that were made by the president that, again, the strategic importance of not only Saudi Arabia but the Gulf, and that Egypt is always there to support and defend their security regardless of any threat.
Mm-hmm. So one of the key issues that was discussed was the importance of protecting maritime navigation and Egyptian water security. Your comment?
Indeed. Again, Egypt and Saudi Arabia are two actually the biggest countries that overlook the Red Sea. And of course, there were some disturbances years ago in the Red Sea. But again, because of the cooperation of them, they managed to secure these disturbances, and they ensured the smooth sailing of ships in this route. And this definitely helped a lot, because given that this is the entrance to the Suez Canal, and approximately 10% of the international trade passes through that, so it resembles, or it actually has a strategic importance for Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and not only these two countries, but also the entire world. So definitely, it's very important to coordinate the efforts to secure not only the maritime in the Red Sea, but also the economic, because of the economic importance of the Red Sea in terms of the international trade.
Dr. Ahmed?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
The regional security, how do you think Egypt and Saudi Arabia can consolidate efforts to confront issues that are paving a threat to regional security, or posing a threat?
Definitely one of the threats that both countries perceive is Iran. Definitely there are some concerns over what's happening in Yemen, and I think both countries actually see eye to eye the issue in Yemen, and they agree that definitely the peaceful solution to the critical situation in Yemen is the most important. Yet, with the Houthi being there, definitely that constitutes a little bit of a problem. So again, it's very important, and both countries are working on the stabilization of the region, and they work hand in hand, and we saw that over the years, and how both countries actually make sure that they coordinate their stances through the League of Arab States, and they coordinate, and even if they have a little bit of disagreement, again, they make sure that they overcome these issues in the one-on-one meetings. And this is why we see President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi visiting Saudi Arabia, or Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visiting President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Sharm el-Sheikh or in Cairo, and on regular basis. All of this to ensure the high level of coordination between both countries, to, as I said from the beginning, to ensure the stability in the region, because again, these are the biggest countries in the region, and their stability ensures the stability of the entire, not just the MENA region, but again, Africa and the wider area.
One of the issues also that was addressed was one of the critical regional issues, which is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and both leaders called on a solution to the conflict whereby we would achieve a two-state solution. Do you think that anything can be done? Because quite frankly, the Palestinian issue is not capturing headlines at the moment. Can in any way we push that issue forth again?
Well, I believe that the Palestinian issue is always there, and it's always on the table. Maybe, as you said, it's not the key issue yet. It has always been there, and it will not go anywhere until it is actually resolved. And Egypt and Saudi Arabia have always been two of the leading countries that are always pushing for the solution of this dilemma. And as you said, both countries are actually pushing for the two-state solution, given that this is the solution that is supported by the wider international community. So they'll always keep on pushing, and because of the importance of the Palestinian case. And I believe that the thing that would actually move this a little bit would be the unity of the Palestinian people. They're always united. Sometimes there will be some disagreements, but again, as we all know, the more united any party is, the stronger the stronger the party is when it comes to negotiation. And definitely, this party will be able to push their agenda on top when it comes to any other topics, and they'll be able to actually make sure that they get whatever they want. So I think, and this is actually what Egypt has been trying to achieve, again, just like how Egypt was trying to achieve unity in Libya, also Egypt has been trying to achieve unity within the Palestinian government, not just the government, the Palestinian Authority and government and the different parties involved in the political landscape in Palestine. So again, the only thing I believe would be just, again, to unify the internal different parties.
Dr. Ahmed Faid, thank you very much for joining us on To The Point. We'll be right back after this, so please stay with us. Back with us on the phone is Dr. Hassan Youssef, Professor of Economics at Ohio University and also the Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration at Nile University here in Egypt. Dr. Hassan, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Good evening, sir. First of all, President Sisi is in Saudi Arabia. How do you see Egyptian-Saudi economic relations, especially at these trying times? How can those two important regional countries consolidate efforts and maybe help the rest of the region?
Well, definitely this is one of the pillars of the region. As you know, Saudi Arabia, or KSA, is the #1 economy in the Arab country. And Egypt is coming close second in this case. So you have the two leading economies. Of course, Saudi Arabia depends on the mono resource of oil for most of its economic plans, while Egypt has a lot of diversified economies and has the labor force that can actually be the human capital of the region. So there is a lot of complementarity between these two, and there is a lot of integration that could happen between these two countries. And I'm sure that the President of the president of Egypt and the king of Saudi Arabia in one place right now is sending a message that this is going to be a regional bloc. And as you know, there's a lot of trying to bring anything between these countries. I believe the announcement that made by the KSA or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia about the right of Egypt to have its own water is very significant backing up for the Egyptian position. So there is a lot of good things would come out of these meetings.
Sir, the world is going through very, very trying times right now, from COVID to a war. In your opinion, how can we, is there a way to safeguard the interest of this region at this juncture with all the developments around us?
Well, definitely, it's a very trying time. As you know, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and of course the proxy in this case is Ukraine. It's really a major dispute over the power of the USA versus Russia and China. I think the victim is the emerging countries. As you know, the first thing that happened is the huge increase in the price of oil. Definitely, this is a good fortune for the oil-producing countries, but also a bad luck for the importing countries. For us here in Egypt, the increase in the price of wheat and other grains and the imported oils, all of the import things that we are depending on the rest of the world to get, especially from Ukraine and from Russia, it's going to give us another hit. Don't mention the tourism, since Ukraine and Russia's tourists do represent a significant portion of the total number. I think it's at one point of time was around 30%. It's very hard time for us coming, and expect a lot of increase in the prices, since the inputs for a lot of industry is going to have increased, not to mention the transportation and the increase now in the insurance premium all over the region over there. What we need to do is to actually start depending on ourselves. There was a project that has been on the plan for a long time about using the land of Sudan, the labor of Egypt, and the capital of the either the Gulf country as a whole, or United or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in order to make Sudan the basket, the food basket for the region. These kind of plans need to be revived again. We should also start changing our consumption pattern. Depending on wheat might not be the best way to go. So a lot of lessons that we should really take out of this hit again. As you mentioned, we started with the trade war in the beginning between the USA and China, and then the epidemic, the disruption in the supply chain, and here we go again. I think we are really in a very hard time right now, and the more we pull together as a region, the more complementarity we have, the more successful we are in basically pulling out of this without a lot of damage.
Sir, have events that have evolved around us, will they reshape the way markets operate, international markets operate, in your opinion? Will we go now into less of global markets, into more strategies of self-sufficiencies? Will countries start to revisit how their economic relations are, or their economic interdependency?
Yes, definitely this would happen. People will reflect in the policy of depending on imports. As you probably know, the Egyptian government started to increase the dependency on our own resources. However, this is going to be for the whole region. I think that this policy, as I mentioned now, has to be a regional policy rather than a global or international. We really need to look at our own region. We need to have regional projects. As I just mentioned, we have the capital, whether it's financial capital or human capital. It means we have the resources, and we have a good market. If we are talking about the Arab countries, you're over 400 million. That's of course larger than the US, the American market. So we have all the components or the pillars for a successful union. Well, I don't have to say union because this is a sensitive word, but for a successful integration, successful cooperation, or a regional project. I wish to see these kind of ideas that have been in the drawer for a long time coming back again in order to avoid a lot of hazards that we are surrounded by this very trying time now.
Egypt, or President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, dedicated the year 2022 to developing civil society, to develop us here locally. How do you see the progress of that? How do you see the economic development? Because the backbone really to ensure that you really alleviate burdens and you upgrade the social level is strong economic growth. How do you see the progress thus far?
As you know, the civil societies, the NGOs, the non-government organization, and all of the components of the civil society does play a critical role in economic development. It plays a role in trade facilitation. It plays a role in building healthy communities by providing critical service. The rapid growth and expansion of the NGO in Egypt is actually a very good sign that there is a growing role in the development process for these Egyptian NGOs. I believe that we have a lot of very successful NGOs around, and all these organizations that help in the education front and the health front and in the building human capacity, training. Everywhere there are civil society active, even in the political arena. So I feel very optimistic about the role of the civil society now, and the more vibrant that role, the more growth will happen not only in the economic side, but also in the social side. There is a role to play in every aspect, whether it's economical, whether it's societal, whether it is political, health side. So I feel that we are really striving in this front. The corporate responsibility is also having a good sign in helping other parts of the society. If you are talking about climate change and carbon reducing or mitigation, all of these is areas for the NGOs and the civil society to help in. And I'm very optimistic about the role of the society right now.
Since you mentioned the issue of environment, how do you feel about Egypt hosting COP27?
Very important event, and I think it's going to give Egypt a lot of clout in order to help more our own country in reducing the carbon footprint that exists. As you know, the government could really use this in order to push corporations to reduce their carbon emission. We still don't have the same rules that exist in other advanced countries. For instance, releasing carbon footprint or measuring carbon footprint by corporations. We are not mandating that. It might be a good opportunity to start raising awareness and to start putting legislation to reduce the carbon emission. Even the sea pollution level, the coral reef in Sharm el-Sheikh, it's very ironic that the conference will be in Sharm el-Sheikh, and Sharm el-Sheikh needs a lot of help with the coral reef destruction there. So all of this is going to put the light on the environmental problem in Egypt, and I am sure that it would be a good opportunity to exploit the presence of this.
Welcome back. With us on the phone is Dr. Mustafa Rustom, Director of International Affairs at the Middle East Trade Union. Dr. Mustafa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mustafa, one of the issues that President Sisi discussed with the Saudi king today, King Salman, is the role of the Arab League and the need of a joint action by the Arab League to address regional crises. How do you see the role of that international or that regional organization? Can we in any way push it to be more effective in conflict resolution?
Actually, thank you very much for this important question. And actually, we can say that Arab League has passed a serious circumstances due to what happened in the previous decades. But now President Sisi is playing an important and pivot role in the Arab area and in the African level. And one of the most important what we call strides that he is taking to give a push and support to the Arab League.
Yes.
And the Arab League is the only now is the sole voice that it is talking on behalf of the Arab world. Mm-hmm. And actually, of course, we know very well that what has happened in the past. But now, after Egypt has come to its pivot role, we can see it. I think it's very important step talking to the Arab, talking to an Arab leader, King Salman, and also about the importance of the Red Sea. So I think this is a very important and vital role. It will be played by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to give a support and to make the Arab voice well listened and well supported in this difficult world nowadays.
Dr. Hassan, yes, Dr. Yes. Mustafa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well now.
Yes. Sir, both leaders in a joint statement said that they strongly condemned and rejected international interference in Arab affairs. Is there a way to contain that and resolve regional conflicts regionally?
Actually, I think Egypt has been a very important model, and what we call it the Arabic Spring. And what happened in Egypt and the Egyptian army has been a very important, good answer to those who like to interfere in our internal affairs. And as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has mentioned, when I will be strong, nobody can hurt me. So nowadays, it is not only just a lesson or just a slogan, it's a tactic that has been maintained. And what has happened nowadays in Ukraine and Russia, yes, you can see the importance, what has been done by the Egyptian army under His Excellency guidance since he has been a Minister of Defense. So this is the only way. We have to have our own voice, well listened, well heard, and we can express ourselves in a very important manner. So nobody can interfere in our affairs. And this has been clearly done, not only on the Arabic level but also on the African level.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see we are here. Nobody can interfere. It's our right to be presented, to talk about ourselves, to express ourselves in the meantime.
Dr. Mustafa?
Yes, I am here.
Yes. Sir, do you think that in the near future we can, under the umbrella of the Arab League and with the support of big regional powers like Egypt or Saudi Arabia, can we resolve pressing conflicts? We have boiling points in Libya, in Syria, in the Palestinian territories. I mean, can we consolidate efforts under the umbrella of the Arab League to resolve regional conflicts and ensure regional security?
Actually, it's a very important question. And the evidence, I am fully agree about what you mentioned now. Because as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has mentioned a few years ago, that Masafat al-Sikka, as soon as you need us, we will be there. So anybody in the Arab world is needed us, we are there. And nobody can deny the fact now the regional role that Egypt is playing for the Red Sea, for the Arab world. And nowadays we can see that Egypt is playing a key role in the importance of what we call it, to stop any conflict, like what happened, our role to help our brothers and sisters in Libya, our role to help our brothers and sisters in Syria. And nobody can deny the Egyptian role. And what it is given nowadays is that we have a lot of important economic and political, social conferences for the Arab world is running here in Egypt to be a voice that we are here. Egypt is playing a pivotal role to defend its region, because we say that we are not only playing for what we call for Egypt only now, but we like to have a parallel economic and political and social level of cooperation. So this is the only way, and we cannot make this without a strong army. That's like what happened now when we have been, His Excellency has been talking a few years ago about a unified Arab army to defend the Arab borders in case of any conflict. So it has been a very important indication few years ago that we have to protect ourselves, to talk on behalf of ourselves, and we can defend ourselves.
Okay. Dr. Mustafa Rostom, thank you very much for your input, and we'll be right back.
إن الجزء الأكبر من عظمة هذا الوطن قد استمده من روعة المرأة المصرية. فالمرأة المصرية كانت ولا زال حالة فريدة تحمل طباعاً خاصة، وتحمل بين طياتها البسيطة تفاصيل عظيمة. وقد ضربت المرأة المصرية أروع الأمثلة في شجاعتها وقدرتها على التحدي حين أصرت على المضي قدما في مواجهة أعداء الوطن، ولم تخش إرهابهم وعنفهم، بل قدمت أعزائها زوجا وابنا وأخا فداء لهذا الوطن العظيم. السيدات والسادة، إن الواجب الوطني والمسؤولية أمام التاريخ تحتم علينا أن نسرع الخطى في تمكين المرأة والحفاظ على حقوقها ووضعها في المكانة التي تليق بقيمتها وقدراتها.
Radwa Helmi est entrée dans l'histoire samedi en devenant la première femme juge en Égypte à siéger au Conseil d'État, cour administrative jusqu'à-là composée exclusivement d'hommes. Présente samedi au Conseil d'État, Radwa Helmi figurait l'an dernier parmi 98 femmes choisies pour intégrer cette institution.
Welcome back. We have with us on the line Minister Mohammed Arabi, former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Minister Arabi, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
A very, very extensive foreign relations agenda today. It culminated with a visit to Saudi Arabia. How do you see that visit?
Yes, it is a very important visit, and I think this will give us, the enthusiasm that we can predict that we will embark on a new solidarity, a new common visions, a new strategy for all the Arab world, not just for Saudi Arabia and Egypt. I think the meeting on that level, the summit level, it's always, has a sort of impetus in order to give or to push forward the relationship between the two countries. In the meantime, I think the whole region is under, real threats and many obstacles and many challenges. And I think we need a sort of coherent views now, and in order to try to face, this kind of challenges, which is now prevailing in the whole world, not just in our region. So the complications of the situation in, let us say, in Ukraine and also in the Gulf and many other thorny issues like Libya, Syria, Yemen, I think all these things, it give us, the hope that Egypt and Saudi Arabia could bring together a sort of new strategy to face all these kinds of challenges.
Your Excellency, the role of international and regional organizations. In the meeting, they tackled the issue of the role of the Arab League. Here I'd like to ask you, the role of international organizations, be it the United Nations or even the Arab League as a regional organization, has the time come to revisit how they operate, in your opinion?
Well, in general, I think all the international and regional organizations, they are facing a real dilemma now because, they are not so affected and they cannot cope with the accelerations of the incidents all over the world. You can see that the UN even they were a little bit. I'm sorry to say that impotent, to tackle the issues in Ukraine, and also the African Union. Also, I think they were a little bit, lazy to tackle the issue of the Ethiopian dam. So this is a real problem that all the international organizations and the regional organizations, they cannot, face the problems which is now starting and prevailing for a long time. All the issues now in the Middle East, it is prolonged for more than 10 years. And that's why the international organization and even the regional organizations, they cannot, tackle these issues. It is I would say, remaining with us for even more than this time. I think we will live with all these problems for another, let us say, 10 years. So this is a real dilemma actually facing all the international organizations and the regional organizations.
Your Excellency Minister Mohammed Arabi, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you in studio soon. Unfortunately, our time is up. I'd like to wish you, the viewers, a very pleasant evening, and we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.